Hey guys, and welcome to my stimulus package update and stimulus check update. Wow, I haven't said those words in so long. I want you guys to know that I missed you more than you missed me, and I'm happy I'm back here for you with another video just to give you my perspective on everything that's been going on.
The IRS announced on February 23rd, my birthday. They had to announce it on my birthday, right? Yeah, I guess they're trying to make me look bad here or something, right? That interest rates will increase for the calendar quarter year beginning April 1st. Maybe it's an April Fool's joke. Or something like that. The interest rate is determined on a quarterly basis and is based on the federal short-term rate, rounded to the nearest full percentage determined during January 2022 to take effect February 1st, 2022. I know, it already seems like a calculating nightmare. Well, don't worry, it's gonna get a little bit even more complicated here. Yeah, you can start to see some of these kind of rates here. All you kind of really need to know is that interest rates are going up here. 4% for overpayments, 4% for underpayments. So again, if you owe the IRS money, 4%. If the IRS owes you money, 4%. It's actually less money for corporations because they pay on a different scale, but it's 6% for large corporations. Yeah, like I said, it's a little bit of a nightmare here. But these are the rates. They're going up a little bit, just like interest rates are going to be going up a little bit, unless this rush situation changes things. But the Fed says that the interest rates are probably still going to be going up because inflation is still really bad. The last reading was 7.5%. And with the price of oil and the price of gas going up even more, and, you know, with the whole Russia conflict, remember, Russia is the world's second largest producer of oil and natural gas and energy supplies that they ship all over the world. Even if the U.S. doesn't buy a drop of it, it's raising the price of oil and natural gas all across the world. Remember that oil and gas, natural gas, is traded globally, okay? So even if the U.S. doesn't buy a drop of it, it still raises the price of everything across the world, okay? And if Russia does get sanctioned to where they're secluded all off by themselves and they can't sell their oil to anybody else, that will actually raise the price of oil even more dramatically, probably, okay? So, yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's kind of a double-edged sword because there's such a large piece of land and there's such a large oil and natural gas producer. Yeah, so it's kind of a tricky situation. Nobody wants to pay a high price for gas, but nobody wants to deal with Russia either. Yeah, I get it. It's like I said, it's a tricky situation. The other issue with gas is it's not just when you fill up at the pump. It's not just that. It's the price of everything. It's the price of food. It's the price of buying anything at the store. You go buy a broom or a mop or a pair of shoes. All that is affected by inflation and gasoline because everything you buy, that pair of shoes, you buy that mop, that had to be trucked in, that had to be shipped in, that had to be shipped over on a container. Even if it was made in the USA, which I think we all know a lot of stuff is not made in the USA, but even if it is, it still had to be trucked over to the store via a truck with diesel fuel and the price of fuel, right? So everything is affected by the price of gas, and diesel, and fuel. And if the price of that goes up, the price of everything goes up. Meanwhile, there's a lot of talk in Congress and from the president to try to relieve this situation. In fact, the president is actually considering releasing more of the federal oil reserves, the federal gas reserves, to temporarily try to bring the price of oil down or the price of gas down as well. Check this out. President Biden says the U.S. and partners are working on a global oil reserve release. So the U.S. may be releasing more oil reserves and other countries. President Biden said yesterday the U.S. is working with other countries on a combined release of additional oil from global strategic crude reserves, and a source with knowledge of the talks said the plan was in the early stages. Prices yesterday from Brent oil shot above $105 a barrel after Russia, one of the world's top oil producers, attacked Ukraine. It actually fell down to about $99 to $100 a barrel after the sanctions were announced, and kind of stayed there for the time being. But they're probably going to be very volatile for the short term here. We'll have to see if they spike up again. Quote, we are actively working with countries around the world to alleviate collective release from the strategic petroleum reserves of major energy consuming countries, Biden told reporters. The U.S. will release additional barrels of oils as conditions warrant. We are exploring through the IEA, referring to the Paris-based International Energy Agency, which said this week it stands ready to tap reserves. We're on day one of Russia's attacks, so still working on timing, etc., for the oil release. The plan would be in addition to a coordinated release of oil stockpiles with China and other Asian consumer countries organized by Washington last November to combat energy inflation. So far, the U.S. has released about 50 million barrels of oil from its strategic petroleum reserve through sales and exchanges, while China has mostly held off from releasing its oil. Japan and Australia said on Thursday, two of our allies who are also imposing sanctions on Russia, said they were prepared to tap their oil on reserves together with other IEA members as well if global supplies were hit by the violence in Ukraine. Also, you can see here, flush with cash, states are handing out money to their residents. And we continue to see more and more states help with cash and stimulus type programs. A pandemic windfall has bolstered states' treasuries, and politicians see it as a way to finance tax cuts and other programs. Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of this here. If you've been watching my channel, you know, here almost on a daily basis, I have more and more stimulus type programs here coming out here all the time. And here's the newest one. Idaho Governor Brad Little, who is a Republican, proudly stood before an appreciative crowd at a software company recently and signed a record $600 million tax cut into law. So again, another kind of way of giving back to the people is by cutting taxes, right? The cut includes $350 million in one-time rebates and $250 million in permanent income tax reductions for individuals and businesses. So $600 million. It lowers the top rate on individuals and corporations from 6.5 to 6%, while reducing the number of individual brackets from 5 to 4. For Idahoans, it is the second consecutive round of good tidings with cheer, from the state, which passed a $383 million tax cut in 2021, consisting of a $220 million in one-time rebates and a $163 million in permanent relief. At this point, Idaho can afford it with a $1.9 billion budget surplus. Idaho is hardly alone. An analysis of state finances by Richard Auxier, a senior policy associate at the Urban Institute of Brookings Institute Tax Policy Center. They're a really big center, I guess I would say there. If you ever hear the Brookings Institute, they're kind of like the most well-known one there. Released February 9th and found 29 states and districts of Columbia enacted significant tax cuts in 2021. Yeah, 29 states there announced tax cuts. So, hey, That's more money for the people, right? Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who's a Republican, in January announced a budget that included a record $4.6 billion tax cut, the centerpiece of which is a 6-year plan to eliminate income taxes on state residents over 65. Wow, that's really interesting. The centerpiece of which is a 6-year plan to eliminate income taxes on state residents over 65. Wow. So I assume that's state income taxes. So it looks like senior citizens in Maryland in potentially in 6 years will not have to pay state income taxes, potentially, from Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. That's really interesting. Hey, that's a perk for senior citizens here in Maryland. Let me know your thoughts on that. In Mississippi, the state house and Governor Tate Reeves, who's also a Republican, these just happen to be all Republicans. I actually kind of Google it in between here just to see if they're Republican and Democrat, just so I can kind of report that to you, are proposing to eliminate the income tax, while the state Senate has unveiled a more modest proposal to trim the income tax and lower some other fees. So again, a lot of these states are kind of giving back to their residents in a range of different ways here that a lot of people kind of don't really realize. Yeah, so pretty interesting. We've seen a range of tax cuts both in Democrat and Republican states, says Brian Segrete, Director of State Fiscal Studies on the National Association of State Budget Officers. It's not uncommon coming out of a downturn. The official fiscal situation we're in right now is unique. They said in October that more than a third of states incorporated some type of tax relief or stimulus checks, remember those are tax rebates, into their final fiscal year 2022 budget. So either tax reductions or stimulus checks. Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of these here. We're going to see a lot more in 2022 if you've been watching my channel. The states find themselves in unusual positions of being flush with cash. As of December, total state tax revenues include 26.3% from April of 2021 when compared with, an increase of 26% when compared with the year before. Personal income taxes rose 21% overall, while corporate income taxes increased by 62%, and sales tax revenue grew by 23%. Wow, that's really interesting. I assume that's because this is from 2021 compared to 2020, so that would be Biden's first year versus Trump's last year. A lot of that would be the first year coming, pandemic closure versus not, right? What's behind the boom? Largely a result of the pandemic, right? Yeah, that's kind of what I just said, right? Massive amounts of stimulus really helped out the economy, and that's what we've been saying here on the channel, as well as we're coming out of the pandemic, right? Or at least trying to. Of course, we still have the virus still kind of, hanging around forever, right? Here's another interesting part here. Then there is the question of equity. They studied how 4 states, Arizona, New Mexico, Ohio, and Maryland, handled tax cuts in 2021. Who received the most benefits from them? Arizona and Ohio favored income tax cuts, while Ohio and Maryland chose to prioritize the earned income tax credit. Remember, that's the adult tax credit for low-income people from the states. So, which states provided those 2 states provided a state income tax credit on top of the federal credits available to low-income workers. In Ohio and Arizona, households earning more than $100,000 received an overwhelming share of the tax cut benefits, in stark contrast by expanding their state EITC, that's for low-income Americans, New Mexico and Maryland distributed nearly all their tax relief to households earning less than $30,000. So wait, I think they're saying here that in Arizona and Ohio, people earning more than $100,000 received a tax cut, where in New Mexico and Maryland, people earning less than $30,000 got the EITC, Earned Income Tax Credit. I think that's what they're saying here. So, hey, unfortunately, I don't get to make the laws here. You have to talk to the governors of your state, unfortunately, and the lawmakers, the House and the Senate of each state here. Many other states are considering tax cuts this year, are also offering other breaks to residents, ranging from delaying planned increases in state gasoline taxes to investments in education and the environment. Some are making one-time stimulus payments or hazard pay payments, whatever you want to call them, to hazard pay workers and others who bore the brunt during the pandemic. So as you can see here, there's a lot of different stimulus type programs, stimulus check programs, reducing the cost of gas, all sorts of different things going on here. Remember that President Biden just extended the emergency pandemic situation declaration of the United States. It was going to end on March 1st, and he just extended that. So it's still in full effect. States are literally doling out cash in the form of stimulus checks, tax cuts, tax rebates, SNAP additional benefits, pandemic EBT benefits, mortgage assistance, rent assistance, utility assistance, all sorts of extra things here.
Alright guys, this is all I have for you in this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really missed you. Hopefully I'll see you here again very, very soon. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about here in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate you all. Please hit the like button on the video, share this video with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notifications bell to be notified that whenever I publish new videos for you. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.